I'm about to share one of the most obvious reasons for you having uneven shoulders that no one's talking about. But just knowing enough about it isn't enough to fix it, which is why I'm also going to be showing you why exercises won't ever fix this, the fastest method for fixing your uneven shoulders, and how to avoid this problem in the future. My name's Adam. I'm a personal trainer turned massage therapist. And one of the most obvious reasons for your uneven shoulders has to do with your hand dominance. If you are a right-hander, there is a good chance your right shoulder is going to be lower than your left, and vice versa for lefties. Think about this for a minute, right? The more you use a specific muscle, mainly one side or another, then the more that muscle is going to be stronger and tighter than the other side. Take a look at soccer players, for example, how one leg is bigger than the other, indicating which one is essentially stronger. Or even like something like baseball or disc golf, which I do play both, where you're always rotating one way versus another. And when that happens, your body's going to want to adjust that way, meaning you're going to have more rotation one way versus another. Now, another reason for having uneven shoulders is going to be something like scoliosis, right? When your spine is bent one direction, your head gets tilted with it. Well, our head likes to be at a level angle, likes to be perfectly straight. So to do that, it's going to curve your body back up and not lose a leg there, but your head's going to pop up in order to get to that level position. Well, unfortunately, your shoulders are going to remain in one side or another, while your neck is the one that has the kink in the first place. Or if you end up in something like an injury, right? Let's just say you get into a car accident, you're probably going to have a lot of scar tissue in the areas that were bruised and damaged. And when that happens, that scar tissue is going to pull those tissues closer together, resulting in shortness and tightness. Meaning if your right shoulder is lower and you had an injury on the right side, that scar tissue might be pulling it down, creating that muscle imbalance in your shoulders. Not gonna lie, I kind of like this. Now what came off? Oh shit. Oh, it's patella. The poor patella. So if these are the main reasons for your uneven shoulders, then why won't exercises fix this? Well, let's actually think about this for a minute. The whole point of exercising is to help not only strengthen the muscles, but to stabilize the joints, meaning to pull them closer together and keep them secured, right? Well, ask yourself this: if those muscles are already lengthened, what are the odds of another muscle being shortened and tightened in the first place? Going back to those injuries, going back to being left-handed versus right-handed, you can actually try to figure out which side is going to be tighter, which side is going to be stronger than the weaker muscles. And we can figure this out by looking at the agonist-antagonist relationship between the weaker muscles you're told to strengthen all the time, like the rhomboids or the rear delts. And by looking at the opposite side of that, you can see the chest and the shoulders are the ones that are probably creating that uneven shoulders to begin with. So think of it like this, right? Your uneven shoulders, they are not created by weak muscles. Your weak muscles are created by tight muscles, and your tight muscles will also create those uneven shoulders. But here's the thing, right? Is it really tight muscles? Because if you actually try to strengthen these muscles, if you do a strength test, for example, you will see that these muscles are pretty much weak. We don't use these muscles and we don't strength train them, but we do constantly shorten them. And when you take a look at the connective tissue around it, like fascia, you will see that this connective tissue acts just like a giant muscle and creates constant contraction. What's great about fascia is that we can actually figure out, we can divide it up into nice, even patterns to actually see how it pulls on the body. And to do that, we have to take a look at anatomy trains. So here you can actually see the different arm lines. We have the superficial front arm line and the deep front arm line, which are the deeper muscles, and then the back line. And of course, you have a left side and a right side. You have a left superficial and deep, as well as the back. And what these lines actually are able to help us figure out is when one side gets tighter, like this shorter side right here, this deeper side, for example, right in the center, then what ends up happening is that side will end up getting tight and pulling down. And we can see this with the actual anatomy. If we take a look at the actual pec minor and only the pec minor, let's just hide others and then bring back the bones. We can see that it is actually attached to the scapula. When it gets tight, it follows these lines. So from the top, the coracoid process up here, all the way down to the ribs, that is where it contracts. So you can see how it kind of pulls everything down. And of course, we use this muscle every single day thanks to all of the constant movements that we do in front of the body. The more we move in front of the body, like reaching forward, just like we're doing right there, you see on the anatomy here. Well, think about when you're driving, you have to reach forward a little bit. Think about typing. Think about writing with your hand. Like everybody does that anymore. The whole point here is that because we are constantly moving forward in the forward front position, the muscles in the front, the fascia in the front, the fascia lines, more specifically like those superficial front lines and all that, that pulls everything short and tight, which will then make your back not only feel tight because it stretches it out, but it also creates these uneven shoulders because one side is shorter than the other. So basically the whole point of this is that your different fascia lines are what's creating your bad posture to begin with, whether it's uneven shoulders, forward head posture, rounded shoulders, right? Uneven hips, things like that. That is all thanks to your fascia lines, your tight fascia pulling more in one direction versus the other. And this is why you're always seeing exercise specialists, right? Physical therapists teach you how to strengthen the weaker muscles to try to balance that back out. But if you don't want to wait 3 months in order to get actual results, then you need to self-massage all of the tight fascia first. Now, when I say massage out the fascia, I actually mean a good, strong, deep tissue, myofascial, trigger point release massage, right? You can't just go to a regular massage parlor and have them rub your back for 30 minutes, mainly in 30 seconds, actually, more to think about it, and expect to feel better, expect to have your fascia get changed. But if you're able to work on the muscles for about 3 to 5 minutes, maybe 2 to 5 minutes, which also includes the fascia on top of it and in it, then you're actually creating somewhat of a difference in the tissues, which allows the fascia to actually elongate. There are studies that show that not only does releasing fascia on one side help muscles on the other side become more excitable, pretty much means they're able to activate more and therefore get stronger. But studies also show that you can actually see a difference in about 4 minutes. And if you want to take a look at those studies, then I'll make sure to leave a link in them in the description below. But to make sure this video isn't too long, let's actually go through the different fascia lines and the muscles in them for you to actually massage so you know which ones to work on for your own self-massage techniques. First off, you have the different arm lines, which means you can start off with the pec major and also the pec minor up in the top corner. Now, besides the pec major, besides the pec major and minor, you can also work on the anterior deltoids, which are located right next to the pec minor. It's also a great way to find the pec minor. You go between the pec major and the anterior deltoids, right in that little pocket area. Finally, we can also work on the upper traps, which also includes the levator scapula right underneath it. And then for your lateral lines, you can work on things like the SCM, which is the sternocleidomastoid, along with the scalenes, which can easily pull one side up or down. And then that also includes the core muscles, including the obliques, and the hips as well on one side or another. If you were to massage out all these different muscles, honestly, just both sides would probably be beneficial. Then you will most likely see a difference in your uneven shoulders, especially if you only worked on the lower side first and then try to see a before and after. Let me know in the comment section if you do and what your results are. But now that you know how to actually get rid of this, how do you avoid it in the future? Well, first off, strength training is a good way. It's probably the best way to start, is why all your doctors do recommend it, because if you can only pick one thing to do, it would be exercise, because at the end of the day, it would just take 3 to 6 months to get to those same results that a massage, a good sports massage, can do in about 1 to 2 sessions, maybe even just 3 to 5 minutes, like I told you earlier. And the way you strength train is going to be dependent as well. You can't just train in the sagittal plane, right? The way we live every day. The whole reason you got this bad posture to begin with is because you used one side more than the other. You trained one way more than the other, which is why you want to train in multiple directions, meaning the sagittal plane, the transverse plane, and the frontal plane. And of course, that also includes a multi-plane movement as well. That includes 2 or more of the movements. If you actually want to learn what the different planes are and how to train in them and things like that, then let me know in the comment section and I'll make a video about it. But another thing you can actually do here is just try to use your other hand whenever you're able to. I do try to use both hands when I use the mouse every now and then, just to try to see not only how coordinated I am with one hand versus another, but it's also good practice for the fine motor skills, for your brain and all that. So just think about any other situation where you're always using one side or another. Putting your pants on, chances are you always use one leg first, then the other. Try switching it up and see how it feels. Try playing sports like disc golf with your other hand. And again, it's going to feel awkward. You're going to look dumb probably. But the whole point here is to try to start getting that rotation, trying to get that movement, whatever you're doing, the other way that you're normally doing, to start counterbalancing, start fighting off that constant movement you do on a daily basis. The way you gotta think about this is there's no way to avoid it, right? You're going to constantly move forward. You're constantly typing and driving. So you have to always fight that off by strengthening the other direction, the other way. And of course, this also applies to your hobbies and your habits. Now, if you actually want to learn how to create your own plan to improve your posture and how to actually analyze it yourself, then make sure to check out the video up in the top corner. I'll see you over there.